Hello and welcome to RPG Tips, and welcome to Stories of Bardoba, Episode 7, a solo RPG campaign which the dice decide the story. I am Jose, and I'll be your player and game master. In our last episode, Episode 6, not a lot of things happened, but all of them were quite important. We were in the camp of the warriors and cult of Cultists, who were training an army of peasants for we don't know exactly what, and exploring it, trying to find out more about the body of Fanir, the cleric that was decapitated, and the plans of the cult. 3 interesting things happened. The cult brought back a wild savage hydra from we don't know where exactly. Profiting from the destruction that the hydra brought, Vesna, our hero, infiltrated the back part of the camp, where the cult stored the weapons and armors that they used and they supplied to the peasants, where he picked up a bejeweled short sword, and he discovered another tent. It was different. It didn't have weapons nor armor, because it contained the plans of the cult. A letter addressed to the shadow artisan Vanios, signed by Bragg, a humble servant of Vanios and possibly the leader of this encampment, saying that the theories of the artisan about sacrificing clerics of Goriath to perform a ritual that allowed them to take control of the pyramids, the ancient temples of Lamastis, had been successful, and that now they were going to go to the other pyramids, the other temples marked in a map there, to get control of those too. But we had no news about Fanir, and we have no further information about why they are training an army. We had some ideas about the White Crusade and why they are doing this, but we have no conclusive information. And sadly for us, while Vesna was reading the documents, he had a PC negative event and some guards were coming. And because he tried to get the map as a reference, he was able to pocket the letter, but he also tried to get the map. He wasn't able to hide quickly enough for the guards not to see him, so our last episode ended with him leaping inside a chest, while the guards screamed for him. And that's where we go back to the game. I've prepared a very quick map. Of course, I don't have tents and I don't have lots of miniatures, but we can assume that this part is the tent, this is the door, these are the guards, and well, Vesna is not crouching. He can be considered to be inside this rubble, which would be the chests. So, scene 1. Our chaos factor is 6, and it's only 6 because I cannot increase it more. So let's see if the scene is altered or interrupted. I'm really hoping for a PC positive event here or something like that. 8, of course, so now that we need it, the scene is not altered or interrupted, so the scene goes as expected. So we can imagine Vesna just inside the chest in the dark, listening to the steps of the guards coming quickly for him and opening the chest and saying... Now, I don't know how they're going to treat Vesna, what they are going to say, so first of all, let's make a reaction roll, where 2 would be a relatively peaceful reaction and 12 would be an extremely aggressive reaction. And this time I'm going to do it with 3d6 discarding the minimum, because I think it makes sense that they are aggressive, since this seems to be a very important rule. Okay, so first roll, this is perfect. So that's a 12, so they are extremely aggressive. So they slam the chest open and one of them just picks up Vesna with one hand and lifts him from the chest and throws him to the side of the tent. So is this a combat? Are they going to try to kill him or are they going to try to take him prisoner? Since we know the reaction is very aggressive and Vesna can see it in their mood, both warriors have their shoulders brought to the front and are itching to attack. Let's say that it is a fate check with a +4 for them attacking, since we know that the reaction was aggressive. So this is an 11 +4, 15, so yes, this is a combat. Now to decide the stats of these warriors, I'm going to roll 1d6. And if it's 1, it's going to be a thug or militia. If it's 2 to 5, it's going to be a veteran soldier. And if it's a 6, it's going to be a skilled veteran. 2, so that's a veteran soldier. So that's not too bad. We have more hit points than them because they only have 1 HD. And since we have level 2 in the foci that allows us to avoid shock, we may be able to survive this. So after he's thrown to the side of the tent, Vesna makes a back roll and stunts up. And now we roll initiative. Each side rolls 1d8 and adds the dexterity modifier. I'm going to assume that it's both +1 because Vesna has +1 and well, they seem to be quite dexterous. So for Vesna, it's a 3, of course. And for them, it's a 7, so they act first. Okay, so the first one, the one that tossed him to the side, takes his mace and goes running towards him, trying to strike him with an overhead strike to crush his skull, basically. That's a 6 +2, that's an 8, so no, Vesna raises his shield and the mace almost crushes the shield that Vesna stands. So now it's Vesna's turn. profiting from the fact that he has his arm raised with the shield and the mace and the arm of the other guy also raised, is going to try to slash from the side, because that side is open. We have a +3 because we are adding our dexterity with the short sword. That's a 13, and they have a 13 of armor class, so Vesna hits. This is 1d6 plus 1, 5 points, and now I'm going to roll his hit points. A hit die is 1d8, so if this is 5 or less, that guy is dead. Yes. So actually, instead of slashing, Vesna changes how he's picking up the short sword, putting the blade here, and stabs the guy here, where the armor doesn't cover. And without having time even to scream because his lungs have been pierced, he just drops dead to the floor. Now I'm going to roll a morale check for this guy, because he's just seen how this puny little guy has slain one of his friends very easily. They've got a morale of 8, so I don't think that he'll flee, but maybe. That's a 3, so no, he stays. So this guy unsheathes a bastard sword and profits from the fact that the body of his friend's on the floor, so Vesna wouldn't reach him, but the bastard sword does reach Vesna. This would mean that unless Vesna goes some other way or jumps, he's not going to be able to attack. So the sword attack is 18 plus 2, that's a 20, but Vesna still has veteran's luck, so he's going to stop that. So the guy comes running and basically tries to decapitate Vesna with a very wide horizontal slash. Vesna sees it coming and he's still got his short sword changed, so he drops his head in the last moment, just guided by intuition, not even his senses, and the sword cuts the earth where he was. The warrior growls at him for having failed, and now it's Vesna's turn again. The warrior is keeping now his distance at Vesna, and this has been like in 5 to 10 seconds probably, so now they've got like a sort of a pause where they are separated by the body and they are not able to attack each other, well, I mean, for a few seconds. So now we could run, or we could try to kill this guy. If we want to kill this guy, we're going to have to roll a dexterity check to jump over the other one. But if you run, he'll probably alert the other guy, so we'd have another option. Yes, I think he's going to jump. Since it wouldn't make sense that he would trip, because, I mean, he's not an amateur, not too much. The dexterity roll is going to be a difficulty 8, and if he passes it, he'll get a +2 on the attack due to the momentum, and if he doesn't, he'll get a -2 due to having to jump and it being awkward. So let's see. That's a 7, but we have +1 dexterity, so that's an 8. So that's exactly what we needed. So Vesna changes the sword back to the normal position, and when he sees the warrior opening his arms a bit to possibly calculate for another attack, he then changes his footing and just jumps straight to the guy. So in total we have a +5, and he's got a 13 of armor, so possibly we'll do it. Okay, so that attack fails, but we've got close combatant, which allows us to apply 2 points of damage as shock damage if the roll is 10 or more. Since it was, this guy suffers 2 points of damage, and I don't think he's going to die. I'm going to roll 1d8 for his HP, but if he dies, it's going to be marvelous. No, 5. So when Vesna jumps, he punctures the armor and he makes him bleed, but the guy steps back quick enough not to be impaled. So this guy now starts screaming at the top of his lungs that there's an intruder and that we needed help. So what we're going to do to control if more guards arrive is going to be rolling 1d4, and now in the first turn, if I roll a 1, they will arrive. In the next one it will be a 1 or 2, and subsequently, so at most they will take 4 turns to arrive. I hope that we kill him first, or we run. So, of course, more guards arrive. I didn't say, but while this guy was screaming, he's also taking a total defense action, so that means he's immune to shock, and he has +2 on his AC, so it's going to be tough to kill him. But nevertheless, more guards arrive. Actually, I need to know how many guards arrive, so let's roll 2d4 and take the minimum. 3 or 2. 2 more guards. Yay! Okay, so the situation is getting worse, because we've already used Veteran's Luck, so that means that we have no instant protection against any attack. And we are now fighting against 3 warriors, so that's not going to be good for us. So let's see what we can do. I think now that in our turn it may be in our best interest to just try to finish this guy. This guy now has a 15 in AC, so it's going to be hard to hit him, but I think it's the best option, so... 14. No, almost. Vesna, quickly seeing the guys enter, tries to search for an opening, but the warrior is bleeding slightly from the wound and just not letting any opening just in case because he doesn't want to die. Okay, so we go back to the top of the round, and now it's the turn of one of these. Let's take this guy. Now, since these guys are new, I'm also going to roll on the aggressiveness for them, where 2 would be trying to understand what's going on, and 12 would be, okay, let's kill this guy. A 7 means that they are not wild, but I think that when they see that somebody is dead and that the intruder is trying to kill the other guard, well, they don't ask questions, they just try to kill. So he unsheathes another mace, like the first one, and starts circling Vesna, checking at the same time whether the other guy is alive or dead, confirming that he's dead. And since he would have to jump or maneuver over the other guy in order to attack Vesna, he's just going to hold his action. If Vesna steps back or tries to retreat, he's going to bash him in the head. This other warrior, who's actually a woman, goes to the side of the other one, the wounded one, to try to support and protect him, with the best method of defense that there is, which is attacking the intruder. That's a 5, which means that she can't. She's actually using a staff. I mean, not here, but if everyone's using a mace, it's going to be very boring. She's using a very large metallic staff, and she tries basically poking at Vesna. But since she's blocked by the other warrior and the table, she doesn't get a very good opening, and Vesna just deflects all of them. But Vesna is being surrounded, it's being attacked by 2 people at the same time. So let's say that this guy is now emboldened and he tries to attack Vesna, and I'm going to give him a +1 because Vesna is occupied deflecting the staff. So this guy's got +3. 10, Vesna's like is reversing at last. So while Vesna's deflecting the staff with a short sword, the other guy, who's covering his wound with one hand, takes the sword and does another horizontal slash against Vesna, who already knows that kind of attack and blocks it with a shield. Since the attacks were quite low, I think that Vesna didn't have to retreat, so this guy's held action doesn't happen. And now it's Vesna's turn. Who's going to try to finish this guy because he doesn't like him? 13 is good enough. And now this is 1d6 +1. 6 is definitely more than what we needed. So when the woman stops attacking to recompose herself, Vesna takes his short sword, stabs the arm of the guy that was attacking him, takes it out, and with the same movement, slashes him in the throat. So this guy falls on his back, gurgling blood and making a horrible sound. And Vesna advances a bit to separate from the guy that he sees on his back. Okay, we may be able to do it. Maybe. Okay, so top of the round again. Even though we're being lucky, we're not safe yet. We're still being attacked and outnumbered. So I'm not going to roll a morale check for these because they still outnumber us. So this guy, seeing that Vesna has advanced, jumps over the other one. I'm not going to make him roll because Vesna is not covering that part. And attacks Vesna. I'm going to give him a +1 because he's attacking from the back. We're so lucky today. We're so lucky. So he tries to attack with the mace, but he's in a very strange footing from having to go over his friend. So he attacks, yes, but Vesna is perfectly able to deflect it with a short sword. And now the woman with the staff. Okay, we had to be damaged at some moment. As staff is 1d6 of damage, and these guys have a +1 damage modifier, so that's going to be 1d6 +1. 4 points of damage. Not too bad, so we have 10 now. So yeah, Vesna was able to very easily block the mace that was coming from his back, but he left a huge opening on this side, and the staff clocks him on the face, stunning him for a moment, and well, he's going to probably be bruised, but he's still standing. And it's now his turn, and I think he's going to attack the woman because, I mean, he's just been hurt by her. 16 is good enough, so it's 1d6 +2. Ah, that's a 3. I don't think she's going to be dead, but maybe. Well, won't you see that she was weaker than we thought? I almost feel bad for her. So, almost hurt in his pride because he was hit. Vesna looks at the woman, steps forward to her, and basically, as an unexpected maneuver and some part of revenge, slaps her in the face with the blunt part of the sword, and the woman's eyes instantly go wide and she drops unconscious. So she's not dead, of course, but she's taken out. And now Vesna turns to the other guy. So there's just one left, which makes me think that we may be able to get out alive from here, and we may be able to get the map in the end. So now that there's only one left, I'm going to make a morale check for this guy. He's got a morale of 8. And he doesn't pass it, so that means that I'm going to go to the instinct tables, which is an amazing resource in Worlds Without Number, and it's going to tell us what this guy does when he loses control of his emotions and situation. We go to the combat trained humans table, and he, 4, spends a round looking around the battlefield. Perfect. So this warrior who's got a round face with brown hair falling on his forehead is just looking around, trying to understand what's going on, how this relatively weak looking guy has just defeated 3 of his colleagues and says in the situation because he really cannot go anywhere. He's got a corpse on his back, the tables to his right, and Vesna on the front. And that's very good for us, because it gives us an opening to try to attack him while he's deciding. Ah, that's a 10. Vesna tries to just nonchalantly stab him, and the guy comes to his senses and blocks him with a shield. And I think that now they're just going to start exchanging blows. So it's this guy's turn. So he fails. He tries to sweep the leg of Vesna with the mace. Vesna kicks the mace before it hits him. Now Vesna... Won't you see that? That's a 20. If I recall correctly, there are no criticals in worlds with that number. Wouldn't that be nice though? I mean, I think he deserves it. Yeah, let's give him that kill. That 20 was too beautiful. So he kicks the mace and the guy actually goes behind it and actually drops it. And his head is relatively low. When Vesna, who at this moment is relatively pissed off because he was on his perfect infiltration mission and now it's been busted, takes the guy by the hair and stabs his neck, which, to not be excessively gory, makes him drop dead instantly. Well, I must admit that when we started this, I really didn't expect Vesna to kill 4 guards on his own in such a badass way. I mean, warriors in Worlds with that number have really surprised me. But the most important thing is, you know what this means. We got the map. We get the map at last. I wanted to draw a map. So I think that Vesna is going to bolt it. He's going to get the map now, and he's going to run as fast as he can back to Inula. But before that, he's going to try to search the corpses to see if they are carrying any kind of insignia or amulet or anything that identifies them. So do they have anything that looks like an identification method? 50-50. 18. Perfect. They do. They are all carrying an amulet, which is made out of metal, and it is composed of a metallic circle, and in the middle an oval made out of metal again, but that has been polished to look like a mirror. Vesna quickly takes 2 of them, one for him, one for Inula, and now he also pockets the map. And he bolts it from here, exiting the tent from this side, hopefully to avoid any guards. And basically, if this is the camp Inula was here, he's exiting the camp from here, so he's going to have to circle the Badlands to try to get to Inula without being seen. Okay, so scene 2. Vesna is running across the Badlands to find Inula. My expectations would be that Inula is there and she is safe. I'm also going to lower the chaos factor to 5 because surprisingly the situation is more under control after slaughtering 4 guards. So if the die roll is altered, Inula won't be there because that's the other possibility, and if it's interrupted we'll get a random event and I don't know what we'll get. 2. It's like almost as if the dice heard me. The situation is altered, so the scene doesn't go as we expected, and Inula is not there, and we get some clear signs that Inula is not there. Okay, so what do we see? I'm rolling on the description table for that, and what we see is something... 23, dangerously, okay, good start. 58, lonely. Well, it seems clearly that Inula has been taken by some kind of beast. So when Vesna gets close to the Forested Hills, he sees a cart, so he's happy, but when he gets close to it, he sees that there are clean signs of a fight there, and Inula is nowhere to be found. And he also sees clear signs that she's been taken by some kind of large, dangerous, single beast. Which monster is it? We'll discover that in episode 8. Of Stories of Bardoba. And as a public service announcement, there's only going to be 1 more episode of Stories of Bardoba left before the end of the year, because I'll be taking some holidays, in which I guess that we'll discover which kind of monster took Inula and hopefully rescue her. No matter what happens, I'll see you next Thursday. Bye bye.